Go back out. I don't know how you go back out. I think before.
Did you change it?
I'm trying.
Can you press edit?
I don't know that I have editing.
Yes, you do. You should.
Oh, I know.
Huh?
I have to be in the page view.
Oh, you have to do that to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 The other app, there it is.
So I'm doing it in Wi-Fi. I am doing it in YouTube too.
But what things work out with the bogus? Yeah. You got them all. Did he make it mission? I have no idea. Did you give any instructions? I didn't hear anything out of it. I wasn't even listening to scanner of strings that you did. Blonde. But I went on.
So for a year, I've been doing planning,
Going to dinner tonight. I promised my kid I would get married I just have a, you know.
All right.
I forgot to take pictures. I was so mad at myself. I made these crosses, 2 crosses, and I put Logan's name on one and the new baby's name, which is going to be Madison, on the other end.
Is it a boy or is it a girl?
It's a girl.
Oh,
I haven't had any girls yet. All
boys.
yeah, all grandbabies, great grandbabies, all boys. So anyhow, I made them the crosses and sent them off to Alaska today.
How are you?
This is what I'm going to be talking about on this short presentation about the water rate.
Yes,
This is
it's
going to give
going
you a
to.
copy of the same.
Please, thank you so much. That'd be awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Anything else? How it goes over
Yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I sent them off crosses today just for
That's
fun.
sweet.
Yeah. Told them I was happy about the baby. And, you know, just let them know. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, handsome. such a good guy. I like it. Because that's accepted. Oh. People can hear me, so. Yeah.
I'd like to reopen the city council meeting, January 15, 2019, for the city of Oroville, California. Pledge of allegiance. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In closed session, we do need to report that no action was taken in closed session, but we are going to go back, we do need to go back into closed session after the meeting is over for a continued discussion on items number 1, 2, and 3.
All right, thank you. We just adjourned from closed session and no action was taken. We're going to reconvene in closed session after the regular meeting. At this time, I request a moment of silence for Davis Police Officer Natalie Corona, who died in line of duty January 11, 2019. Thank you. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I second that.
I have no screen here. Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Presentations, proclamations, oath of office. Joe Deal, please.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, City Council members, good evening. My name is Joe Deal. I'm a sergeant at the Oroville Police Department. I've prepared a presentation for you today to provide an overview of the police department, its functions, and some of the specialty teams that we have that you may or may not be aware of. Before I get started, if I may, unfortunately, our profession is losing police officers at an alarming rate this year already. There's stories in throughout the U.S. of officers getting killed in line of duty. Some of those are very close to home. In addition to that, it's not only the drug users now that need to be worried about what's inside the drugs that they're consuming, it's also the first responders, the doctors, the nurses, the firefighters, the paramedics, the police officers that need to be worried about that. Any Google search can show you that there's been drug overdoses right here in our county, exposures to first responders as well. With that being said, the employees at the police department understand that and accept that, and they continue to come to work every day to provide the service that they do. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a very dedicated police department in the city of Oroville. There's two divisions. Is the screen working? There's two divisions. There's a patrol division. The patrol division, if you can just imagine, currently there's 2 police officers on each one of those patrol teams, along with the supervisor. Any given shift, there's also 4 school resource officers in the patrol division. That's about 19 personnel that make up that division currently. Sergeants kind of run that division. For lack of a better term, that's who's in charge of all those people that I just mentioned. Okay, they ensure the quality. That's where all your dispatchers, the detective, the clerks are all located. They're in that support division. It says detectives up there. Currently, we have 1 detective and a lieutenant that supervises that detective. That person is in charge of all the follow-up cases. So the line patrol officer that takes a rape, for example, that patrol officer has other calls that they have to handle. So they take the initial, it gets forwarded to the detective. Any major crime that requires follow-up, the detective is going to take that follow-up. Dispatchers, there's 8 dispatchers in the dispatch center. A given shift has two dispatchers. They dispatch police and fire. That's really going to be, if somebody calls for a firefighter, a police officer, an ambulance, or anything else that they call the police department for, generally speaking, they're going to speak to a dispatcher. Also in the sport division is records. Right now we have 1 records clerk that handles all paperwork, essentially. So if you have to come to the police department for paperwork related, or just generally speaking, if you walk into the police department, you're going to come in contact with a records clerk. Okay, that's where, if you're going to file a complaint, you're going to see the records clerk. Any other documents that are requested by the community or outside members goes through records. So at the bottom of the slide, you'll see 1 detective, 8 dispatchers, and 1 records clerk. That's what makes up the support division of the police department. Administrative personnel, chief of police or public safety director. We know what the chief's job is. Pretty much, you guys see the chief regularly. He sets policy at your direction or city administrator's direction. There's lieutenants in the police department. There's currently 2. The best way to think about it is you have an administrative lieutenant, and then you have the patrol lieutenant, patrol division, and they oversee the people in those units. Administrative assistants, they're going to assist the chief and lieutenants with the administrative tasks and day-to-day operation of the police department. Put this slide up here just to kind of show you what we look at when we schedule and scheduling. Okay, total number of officers on duty. I stated that once before. It's 1 sergeant, 2 patrol officers. If you see red, that's overtime. Okay, that's overtime we're filling. So I said earlier, 1 sergeant, 2 police officers. That's for a population of approximately 20,000 people. And that's any time of the day or night. That's the staffing level that we're at. Some of the teams, we have a canine unit. I know most people know that. We have 2 canines in the police department. 1's a patrol canine. He will seek narcotics. He's a narcotics detection trained canine, and he will also bite people. He's the apprehension canine. Okay, I say that because our 2nd dog doesn't do that. The 2nd dog is committed to the school resource officer program, and that dog is trained to detect narcotics. It's not a bite dog. It's a Labrador. Okay, don't have a picture of that one just because I didn't get a picture, but the dog you see before you is the patrol dog. There's a bomb squad in Butte County, and Oroville Police Department has representation on that bomb squad. There's a certified bomb technician within the department that trains with the bomb squad and goes to those call-outs. It's a very busy team, very active team, about 50 to 60 calls per year. But there's only 1 for the police department, 2 sheriff's deputies and 1 chief of police officer. Department stats in 2018, 36,696 calls for service is what the police department responded to. So if you just were to do the quick math, each officer responds to about 20 calls per shift, 20 calls per shift, 12-hour shift. Some of the things we see, drugs, these pictures were taken, I'll zip through them pretty quick. Drugs that were taken, these were things in the city of Oroville. All these photos were taken in or around the city of Oroville. This was the BHO explosion over on 7th Street. Oroville does have a gang problem. Continuing on the stats, these calls for service that I talked about, the 20 calls per officer, that's just the beginning. That's just going to the call. That's not writing the report. That's not enforcing traffic, assisting other agencies, testifying in court, taking traffic collisions, backing up the other officer. The list goes on and on and on. Couple things that kind of hit home for us. Response times, that's what most people want to know. I'm going to pick up the phone how long before a cop gets here. Okay, and the national average is 9 minutes. Currently, with the current staffing level we have, Oroville Police Department has approximately a 6 to 7 minute response time, generally speaking. If the police officer happens to be driving by where you're calling, when you call, obviously that's going to go down. That's just taking the average. We at one point had 3 to 4 minute response time. That's when we had more police officers, so there's more in the city. That's understandable. There's a number of different calls that we respond to. I put the statistics of some up in here. These are just 2018 reports. So assaults with a deadly weapon, we took 45 of those in 2018. We wrote a report for assault with a deadly weapon. Rapes, believe it or not, 22, 2018. Domestic violence cases, 2018, 208. These are where we actually wrote a report. So the incident essentially occurred, not a call where we decided once we got there it didn't meet the criteria, it was not a report. Petty thefts, believe it or not, 844. Those numbers went up when Walmart came in and we started taking a lot of thefts there. Burglaries, 2018, there were 438. Murders, there were 3 in 2018, and DUI reports were 192 in 2018. Those are just quick numbers of our stats for different major crimes we talk about. 3,136 people were arrested by the Oroville Police Department in 2018. Various criminal acts, a lot of those numbers that I showed on the previous slide were fit into there, and there's several more types of crimes that we make arrests for, but I just didn't list. So a couple things real quick, I'm just about done. This things not to do, this is just what we come up with when we talk to one of you. Never interfere with a call for service. You might think you're trying to help, but it may be a distraction. If you can just wait until the call service is completed, then contact the officer, that's no problem, that's much better. Please don't ever identify yourself as a city council member at a call for service. You could be placing yourself in jeopardy if we're with somebody that has a bone to pick, for that lack of a better term, against a city council member. So just don't call 911. Okay? A lot of people just, the chief's maybe in the building, but it's going to delay our response time if the in-progress call goes to him and then kind of trickles down. Now, if it's a call, the next slide, I'll talk about it in a moment. If an officer's in plain clothes, you know that officer. What you might not know is if they're working some sort of plain clothes assignment. So please let the plain clothes officer contact you on the street as opposed to the other way around. And then obviously the last one goes without saying, if you have some sort of information on a call, let's not discuss that unless the officer approaches you guys. Things to do, please visit the police department. Okay, we're fine, we want that, okay? The last one says don't feel like you're bothering us, but that goes with all of these. If you have information, report it. Just tell us, let us handle it. If it goes to the chief, if it's something that's not in progress, by all means, tell the chief. Immediate, feel free to tell the chief. He will direct one of us in the staff to handle that at the time. The next one, if you have the time, please come ride along with us. There's no better way to see what we do, unless you've done it before, unless you come out with us. So we will make the time. You sit in the passenger seat with us. You can come on ride-alongs. I don't know very many officers that are going to say, "Oh, I don't want that." Come ride with us. You're not a bother. If you want to know what we do, even if it's just for a couple hours out of your day, if you want to come ride with us, I've had city council members ride in my car before. So those are just a couple of things. I know they seem like obvious ones, but that's that. Contact numbers. 911, we all know that one. There's a dispatch number there. Dispatch 24/7, you can get a hold of dispatch if you would like. And then there's a records department number there as well on the screen. I think I talked enough.
Thank you, Sergeant. Is there any questions from the guys?
I got a question on the arrests. If you can go back to that slide if possible. It was like 3,000. There you go. Go back. 3,136 people. That's individual people. That's not one person that was arrested 50 times. That's 3,000.
Thank you for that question. That's a good question. If I got arrested in January, and then I got arrested in February, and I got arrested in March, that's 3.
Okay, so that's not actual individuals. That's arrested people.
It's arrested people, and if a better way to maybe summarize that, 3,136 instances that resulted in an arrest.
Gotcha, thank you. I'm like, gosh, population 20,000, 3,000. I'm doing the math here. I'm like, that's over 10% of the population.
Believe it or not, Mr. Vice Mayor, we have a lot of what we refer to as frequent flyers that they get arrested multiple times in a year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, would you like to know why you don't call me when there's a crime going on?
Already there?
No. Have you ever heard of the acronym CHAOS?
Yes.
He has arrived on scene. That's why they don't want me there.
Well, I did have a question, Sergeant. You said that you had council members, right? Was that in the front?
Want me to answer that? It was in the front, Mr. Mayor. It was in the front seat.
One question I have is this, in these series of department reports and the presentation, continuing that from our last council meeting, or special meeting, we asked a question about staffing, and if we were to improve, what would be a staffing recommendation? Or what officer per population, per capita, whatever that may be?
So we have approximately 35 employees in the police department. You know, I think in order to, you know, people want to say what would make it full. I mean, full and functional, I think, are different, and different people have different definitions of full. And we can go back in years and, oh, we had this many then, this many then. But when you talk to the police department and most police personnel in a whole, if they were to have one more police officer, it's better. If they were to have one more police officer per team, which there's 4, it's great. If you had one more police officer per team and 1 detective, excellent. So I would say 4 to 5 would be excellent. 1, we'd be happy. You know, with that being said, though, we understand that there's a financial situation in the city. The police department understands that. We're happy. I think the morale is good in the police department. Yes, you're always going to have police officers that want more police officers with them, just because it's just the nature of the beast. If you could take 5 to a call, it's great. If we could get 4, that would be 1 per team. But knowing the situation, I said in the beginning, you have a motivated police department. If we get this many, all these officers and this staff and the men and women of the Oroville Police Department are going to come to work every day and provide the service that they can, the best way that they can with what they have. The answer, I think, would be.
Thank you, Sergeant. Is there anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move forward to the public communication hearing of non-agenda items. Do we have any cards on this?
Mr. Mayor, I have 7 speakers. Our first speaker is Sherry Bunker, and then Jack Kylie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for allowing me this time. As the president of the Exchange Club, I would like to invite you all. We have a breakfast this Saturday at Applebee's from 8 to 10. Tickets are $10. I do have them in my purse. If you're interested, it's to help out our cause, prevention of child abuse, and we also have the 100th anniversary of the Federal Fiesta Days Parade coming up this year, so keep that in mind. We got a lot of good things planned for that. And then the other thing I want to talk about is on the agenda tonight and I'm going to kind of bear off on this. The council was admonished by the grand jury on getting their contact information in order. On the agenda tonight, it lists Rick Walls as a staff person for the airport thing. We need to get all of that stuff in order because you've got phones that are going to, I called Gary one day and got Craig Greasebox voicemail. You need to get your house in order, and that's just one more thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kyler.
Good evening, council. I put a little packet on your up there that you had on it, and what I'm calling attention to is the public participation hearing on Cal Water, which is scheduled for February 14th. And this goes back a ways. Seems pretty quick. It was about 2 years ago that we were in the same situation, but they were going for their annual or their 3-year rate increase. The second page there, one of the things of it is, and what they're looking at this time is an $800,000 increase, which is about 16% over 3 years. And you can see the graph here. The Thermalito and South Feather are both pretty level across there. And you can see the gap that we have for Oroville even compared to Chico. And with this rate increase, if it was to go through, we would be approaching water in some cases over $4 a unit when you put in their RAM charges and stuff like that. You know, on the next page there, it does break down the rate increases by the year, 9.9% the first year, which is 511,161 anyway. It comes out to a total of about 854,000 actually. On the next page here, with limited time, we sort of got this notice pretty quick about this hearing. This is one we pushed real hard to get. And there's an excellent editorial in there that does a better job than I could do of study how it verified what we already knew. And it mentions down at the end of that article, now everybody knows it's a process, but if there's fairness, one that will ultimately pay off for the customers. And that gets me over to the reason I'm here is the Oroville City Council resolution that they passed back in that last rate case. And it's a very well written one. It would take very minimal to update it. And the thing that sort of amazed me on there, I look at who signed that resolution. And there's only actually one council member here. Art was actually there, and Dave Pittman is back. Thank you. And so we had this resolution passed. And not only did they pass it, but Dave will recall he was one of the speakers there. The mayor.
Time's up, Mr. Kyler.
Time's up?
I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. But anyway, what I'm asking for is pass the resolution again. We need you in it. I want to like to see a 7-0 vote on it. It was very influential. Hope you'll be able there to speak. Yeah. With that, thank you. Sorry for the short notice. Got any questions?
No, sir.
Okay.
Next speaker.
Tasha Levinson and then Celia Hirschman.
Good evening, Tasha Levinson, Oroville resident. Just a couple of small things. Your Parks Department put together a tree ordinance that had some fees in it, so you did not want it with fees in it, so they were going to take those out and then bring it back to you. You should ask for it because I think it should be ready to go so we can have our tree ordinance. And we're a tree city, so we should be having that. I do hope you will oppose this rate increase. The resolution really helped a lot last time. Saved all your residents just a lot of money compared to how bad it could be, even though we still have 3 to 6 times higher rates than the surrounding areas. We're going to ask Feather River Recreation and Parks to try and do another cleanup, and it really might help to start thinking, as soon as the weather permits, it really might help to start thinking about having a designated campsite to where the homeless people are going to go. We're going to have them. It would be better to see if we can deal with it in a more organized fashion than we seem to in the past. Lastly, on the site, we have heard tale that they may not have the rail spurs available to them that they thought they may have, so they may not be using that site. That's a rumor. I don't want to say it's necessary across the plane on it. Thank you.
Celia Hirschman and then Bonnie Malone.
I'm Celia Hirschman. I just wanted to make mention of the fact I'm really happy that the California Public Utilities Commission has agreed to make a stop at Oroville. It's a big deal. It's something we've been asking for a long time, and there'll be an administrative law judge there to hear and receive from the residents and the businesses and hopefully the city council how they feel about the rates. And I'll give you an example. In 2006, according to the LAFCO report, in 2006, my water rate should have been $41.36. I didn't live here then. In August this year, my rate was $198. That's just for water. My rate the month before was $135, then $123, $122. You can see in January and February I don't pay a lot, but when it comes to the summer months I pay a lot, and I don't have a huge lot. So I think it's really important that this issue come to the CPUC and that they can advocate on behalf of us. That's their job, and I'm grateful that if you guys would support it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bonnie Malone and then Finger.
Hello, thank you for hearing me. I've been a resident here since 1973, and it has come to my attention recently that there is a large area, some over 200 acres of unfenced, unposted, toxic waste area right in our city limits. And I'm wondering why that's not posted and fenced for the protection and safety and health of the community. So I hope that that's looked into. It's on 5666 Bagot Marysville Road, the old Coppers site. I hope that will be researched and something done about that. Thank you.
Fred Stinger and then Shannon McGovern.
Hi, Fred Spinger. I'd like to thank the sergeant for his presentation. I thought that was really good. I would like to see other city departments make presentations too. I, for one, need things explained to me, usually more than once. So I really appreciated that. I'd also like to thank Jack Kiley for his many years of fighting for the water rights of the citizens of Oroville. I'm just making a couple of comments. I would like to see another Riverbend park cleanup. When we did it last year, I broke down helped other people break down 3 sites. We completely removed them. There was a couple of them that we left there because they were so neat and clean. And I know it's not your purview, but I would like to see us do that again, and anything that you could do to help. And maybe if you could think about because we're literally going and kicking people out of their homes, maybe the council and the mayor could think about somewhere we could tell them where to go. Well, there's a temporary camp place for you over here or something like that. And then lastly, I'd just like to reiterate what I said before about you have the bully pulpit. All of you counselors, of course, but you especially, Mayor Reynolds, to stand up to what seems like these huge entities. They're always stepping on us. And I'm not even an Oroville resident. I live outside of the city, but I've come to really like this town. And I just, if you could, even if you know they're going to shoot you down, say something to them.
Shannon McGovern.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Shannon McGovern. I'm the Community and Government Relations Representative from Cal Water, and I'm here to address the correspondence you received from the CPUC in regards to our proposed rate increase. We do also agree that the public participation hearing is an excellent way for you and the residents of this community and our customers to make your concerns known and to ask questions and participate in this process. We specifically asked for a public participation hearing so that our customers have that opportunity. That being said, there is something that I wanted to correct in the notification that you received. It says that the increase in customer rates in Oroville would be 9.9% in 2020. That percentage is not accurate. The percent is 5.7% in 2020. What they're referring to as a revenue increase, that's not the same as what is reflected on the customer bills, otherwise known as the rate. Our typical customer in Oroville pays $60 a month, and under this proposal, the rate increase that would be realized in 2020, if approved, would be 5.7%. So again, we urge your participation in the CPUC hearing on February the 14th here at Council Chambers at 6 p.m. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That was the last speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any comments from the dais? Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. I ask that we remove item number 2. We haven't had a chance to see this letter. Is there anyone else who'd like anything removed from the consent calendar? Chief, do you want to comment on this?
I was waiting for item number 2, Mr. Mayor, if you want to take a vote on the minutes first.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
I move that we accept the consent calendar exempt agenda item 2.
A second.
Motion carries.
Item number 2, Mr. Mayor, is a letter that's being sent to Governor Newsom from all of the cities in Butte County and the County of Butte. We received the letter late after the agenda was printed, and we actually received the final copy of it today. So with that, we'd like to read the letter into the record so that everybody knows what we're asking you to sign, so there is no mystery or attempt to conceal anything. So with that, I'll just read this letter real quick. It's dated January 11, 2019. It's addressed to the Honorable Gavin Newsom, Governor of the State of California, State Capitol in Sacramento. It's regarding the 2018 Camp Fire Assistance. Dear Governor Newsom, on behalf of Butte County, the town of Paradise, and the cities of Oroville, Chico, Gridley, and Biggs, we would like to express our sincere appreciation for including a state backfill of the anticipated property tax losses for fiscal years 2019 and 2020 through 2021 and 2022 in your budget proposal. Our communities have all been profoundly impacted by the Camp Fire, which in a matter of hours exploded up the ridge and destroyed much of the town of Paradise and nearby communities of Concal and Magalia. The residents of Butte County are deeply grateful for the resources made available to the continuing response to the Camp Fire. 2 months after the start of the Camp Fire, Butte County, the town, and cities continue to work with our state and federal partners to provide emergency housing to hundreds of people and animals, implement debris removal, and identify long-term housing solutions for thousands of survivors. This is in addition to continuing to provide essential services of local government. The Camp Fire continues to impact all of our budgets, from the initial emergency response costs to the ongoing recovery efforts that impact the entire community. Our cities face significant additional cost as a result of the unprecedented population growth in absorbing 25,000 or more Camp Fire survivors, literally overnight. While nearly destroying the town of Paradise and nearby communities of Concal and Magalia, the campfire did effectively destroy the tax base in the burn area. As you know, property tax funds essential services provided by local governments in the county of Butte, and the lost tax base will have a profound effect on all taxing agencies beginning with the current 18-19 fiscal year and continuing well into the future. The prorated tax loss in the current fiscal year alone are more than $15 million for the taxing agencies of Butte County, of which $4.7 million was originally apportioned to the local agencies and special districts providing critical services to our residents. In order to prevent significant impacts to public safety and other services, we urgently request the addition of state backfill of those property taxes in Butte County for the current 18-19 fiscal year. Your timely consideration of this request is appreciated. It's been signed currently by the mayor of the town of Paradise, the mayor of the city of Biggs, and the mayor of the city of Gridley. What we're looking for is to get the direction from the council for the mayor of the city of Oroville to also join in and sign this letter that will be sent to Governor Newsom.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, I think it'd be best to have the council.
Looking for a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. We have some council members in the queue. Councilmember Goodson, please.
Just curious, Chief, what was the impact, what was the monetary impact to the city of Oroville?
For property tax was
approximately 175,000? How much?
179,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Property tax or other impacts as well, which we're trying to also get included in the budget.
Right, I wanted everyone to understand what that impact.
This is a unique devastation. Have you ever seen the state do this?
Yes, yes, and as is indicated in this letter, they have actually indicated that going to, and it's included in the proposed budget, it takes the legislature to approve it, which is the reason for this letter.
Right.
I believe they are. Every indication we've gotten so far is that they're going to include this as well as other impacts. Assemblyman Gallagher has talked with all the managers and finance directors and has introduced Assembly Bill 41, which at this point, I want to say a shell bill, but it is intended to include the losses for each of the communities. And not just property tax, but also things like transit occupancy tax, which, for those in the audience, when a room is occupied past a certain number of days, they no longer pay transit occupancy tax. So with the state taking all the hotel rooms for the survivors, it affects the city's revenue in that way too.
Well, I appreciate that. And there are the unintended expenses too that we have, where we're in joint power authorities with Paradise in a variety of things, our workman's comp, our liability, across the board. We don't even know those numbers yet, do we?
We don't, and you're absolutely right. I was talking to the person doing the reconstruction, the plan check and inspection for the reconstruction in Santa Rosa, and they just applied for, I believe, as much as $300 million more for those indirect impacts, what's happening to their roads, what's happening to the rest of the economy. And clearly, us being an isolated region where there is very little alternative for housing, it's going to have a more dramatic effect on our economy. As that rolls through, it's going to have an effect on every city's budget. Initially, there's going to be a bump up, but after a year, there's really questionable in terms of what effect it's going to have on every city in the county.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the discussion. I'm certainly in support of this letter.
Thank you. Any more comments? Looking for a motion?
I motion we approve the letter and have the mayor authorized signature as presented.
I second.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're moving on to public hearings. It doesn't look like there are any. So moving on to regular business, item number 3 would be regulation of commercial cannabis businesses. Do you have a presentation, Chief?
This is just the second hearing of the ordinance that the council moved forward at the public hearing at the last council meeting regarding the prohibition of commercial cannabis through the prohibition of business licenses and also in the zoning ordinances of the city of Oroville. Late this afternoon, I received a letter from American Development regarding this particular item, and from Headwaters, I have placed a copy on the dais for each of you. They are in opposition to these ordinances. They're requesting you take more time and review them further and work with individuals to develop ordinance that would allow for commercial cannabis in the city of Oroville.
So are we looking for a motion on this?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one speaker.
Oh, speaker. Okay.
Chris? Oh, he's good, never mind.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to adopt ordinance number 1834 and ordinance number 1835 and waive the second reading.
I move that we adopt 1834 and 1835 and waive the second.
Second that.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item number 4, ad hoc commission application review.
What this item is, Mr. Mayor, is there are several commissions the city has, such as the Planning Commission, the Arts Commission, Parks Commission. We take applications from the public to be part of those committees to make recommendations to the council. We've gathered several applications, and what we're looking for now is an ad hoc committee from the council to review those applications, interview those applicants, and then bring recommendations back to the full body. So what we're essentially looking for tonight is 3 council members that could be assigned to interview applicants for those committees and then bring a recommendation back to the council.
Okay. Do we vote on this before I appoint or after?
You should appoint and then...
Okay. I want to appoint Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Thompson, and Councilmember Pittman to this committee.
Do you need to vote on this, do we, Scott?
You should be ratified by the council, yes.
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item number 5. We're going to appoint committees and boards, and I'm taking time thinking about this. The only one that we have a vacancy on SCORE right now, and I'm ready to, I'm going to appoint myself to that seat and continue with Councilmember Goodson in place for now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So no vote on that.
Only, typically on committees, you would only need a vote if somebody objected to it or if somebody disagreed with it, but I haven't.
Do you have any comments?
Go ahead and move forward.
Okay. Okay, moving on to administration reports. Chief, do you want to present anything on correspondence from Cal Water? We've already heard from him.
No, sir. No, sir, Mr. Mayor, those will be attached to the agenda package.
Okay. Any comments on this? Looking for a motion to accept the administration reports.
If we could, Mr. Mayor, if we could just go around the room with each of the individuals here and see if they have anything to report, or council members that wish to report anything.
Okay, sorry. Looked like nobody had anything to say.
I'd like to update the council very quickly on the recovery efforts for Paradise. The chief, Amy, and I all play some role in that. They are looking for, they continue to look for short-term housing opportunities. I will say one of the things they've emphasized to us in a fairly loud discussion was that the folks they are going to house in these trailers have to have been homeowners with a loss of $17,000 or more, or they're not eligible, or they have to have renters who have a year's worth of utility bills they can present. So it's very important for them to show that it's not the homeless that they're housing. There are no, at this point, definite plans, but they're moving ahead. And then continued discussions, and in fact, our weekly meeting is tomorrow morning, so hopefully I'll know more about the debris site. I do think, but I don't know for sure, that they're looking at alternative sites beyond the one that was proposed. I cannot confirm that. As soon as I hear, I will obviously let you know. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Lando.
Gary, could you update them on the Sierra Heights project?
Gary Lehman, Community Development. Sierra Heights has resubmitted their plans today with the comment list. So they will be moving forward. Staff does plan on having those completed next week, ready to issue permits. And they're looking forward to assistance with the housing as well. D.R. Horton out at the Links have pulled 7 permits. We'll start chalking lines. Their plan is for the 17th. However, we do have the weather conditions, so we'll see where that goes. There was another single-family dwelling that was submitted for plan review on the 8th. That was completed today for the permit process. So the city of Oroville continues to expedite residential permits to get the housing development going.
Thank you.
Can you give us the location of the first one you mentioned?
Sierra Heights is up there just south of the hospital. It's a senior housing community.
Mr. Mayor, if we just update you on our real estate, we have listed all of the city houses that we had available. They have all been listed, they've all been sold. They're all in escrow right now, so we've depleted our housing inventory with the exception of 3 that we're renting right now and 1 that we're in the foreclosure process on. So you should be receiving that back. It's important that that money that comes in from that goes toward affordable housing projects. We're required to do that. The state sent a letter today letting us know that if we do not comply, not just us, but all jurisdictions in the state of California, if we don't comply with our housing element, that we could be jeopardizing our traffic transportation money. So as this comes in, we'll have to be looking for projects that we can build within the city of Oroville that meets our needs for that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I might jump in as well. Based on one of the comments that one of the speakers mentioned about the copper site and why are there not signs on the copper site, I went to the EPA's website to take a look at what was required by the remedial measures that the EPA listed for the Superfund site. And they're required to monitor on a regular and ongoing basis and file reports. And as of September, they actually filed a report to make sure that that the cleanup is working as anticipated, that things are going as anticipated. They actually do have fencing and do not enter signs posted along with security cameras at the treatment system and the extraction wells. That's where all of the toxins are located. And so if you get to a point where you are somewhere where you shouldn't be, you will see signs that say do not enter. You will see cameras. I can't speak for whether they're there today, but as of September 28th, they were there. So.
Thank you. Can we get an update on the Paula Court housing development? Is that Gary?
Gary Lehman, Community Development, the Paula Court Housing Development, the office area or the community center portion of it had their foundation inspection today. That passed. They pumped in concrete. So the first stages of their foundation system is in. They'll be going in to bring in the gravel and the rock for the slab and continuing with that and moving forward on that project.
Thank you. Anyone else to report? Any comments?
I just have one brief comment, and that is I think it's important to let the greater Northern California know that Oroville is still open for business. And what I'm thinking in particular of as we turn the corner and head into spring, our area grows in the realm of people coming to recreate. And so this weekend, we actually have a booth at the Cal Expo, or the Sportsman's Expo, and we're letting folks know that Oroville's ready. We have campsites, we have waterways, and we're ready for the folks to come here and enjoy the summer. And that's good for business, and that's good for all of us here. So I just wanted to pass that along, Cal Expo, Sportsman's Expo this weekend.
And I would emphasize again, as I've emphasized now several times, unlike some of our surrounding communities, if somebody has raw land and wants to subdivide and build homes, we can get you done, I'll say very conservatively within 3 months. I think we can do it quicker. So we're open for business.
Great, thank you. Any other comments?
I was at the LAFCO meeting, and they are trying to coordinate things, particularly related with campfires. So, Mr. Pittman, when you mentioned things like you have coordinated workers' comp policies, other things like that, probably involving LAFCO may be a help for you to make it easy for you to get a lot of those communications done and just whip through some bureaucracy of some of those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no more comments. We're going to adjourn the open session portion of this meeting, and the next meeting will be February 5th, 2019 at 5:30. We will not be in a closed session. One second. We have a question from a council member.
Okay, we have sexual harassment and ethics training on the 31st. Is that will be an agendized item, correct?
Yes, it has.
So wouldn't that be our next, just for clarification?
You're right. That would be the next official meeting, assuming a quorum attends.
Okay, thank you.
You're right.
Thank you.
I'm waiting until she leaves it just in case it's missing.
Just in case, eh?
Yeah, we learned that, right? I was telling my son, she's probably realizing 3 years ago to the current year. So where are we going?
I'm going home because I bought a car and I don't have any money anymore.
I know that feeling.
Oh my god! I've been in a car payment since 2015.
I know it's my first one this time.
Oh my god, that is crazy.
Yeah, it's about the same price. I had a car payment. It's about 2008.
What kind of car do you get?
I got a Scion.
Oh, those are great cars. You can soup those suckers.
I love it. It's pleasure. Good gas.